All right, good morning and welcome to another Engineering the Markets. My name is Jared and it is January 12th, 2022. We're all set to get started, so happy Wednesday to everybody, and let's take a look at some effects that we're looking at for the rest of the week. Relatively volatile week overall. We've seen some pretty impressive price action. The recovery in Nasdaq stocks, first seen on Monday, plenty of follow through on yesterday's session. A continued rebound trade inside of the bond products, specifically the TLT, or even looking at things like our 10-year notes and 30-year bond pricing. We're seeing that rebound trade amidst a sort of weekly selling session. Last week was pretty significant downside in bond products, and that led to a sharp spike in interest rates. And as we come into today's session, we have a couple of catalysts in regards to some economic data, one of which is China CPI data, which was released for December. A little bit cooler than expected, and therefore we are seeing some early morning, I would say, gap up opens inside of our China stocks. You want to be thinking from an ETF perspective, the likes of FXI, which did have a decent rally yesterday, seeing plenty of follow through this morning. These are going to be your larger cap China stocks. Your GXC, more of a blended fund, a little bit more market cap distributed. And once again, seeing that rise in particular stocks of that ETF, along with a lot of people's favorite for more of the e-commerce and more tech-focused companies, KWeb, along with other variants like Asher, which may or may not necessarily be the greatest trading vehicles due to the gap risk and some of the volatility we've seen with the China stocks. But overall, positioning well, timing well, and using things like risk-defined options have been a very successful strategy for capturing some of this volatility. So in today's session, do expect that there are quite a few China-based stocks on our gappers list, and we will be looking at those in pre-market prep. When we return back to our S&Ps, we want to note that the recovery is seen inside of the S&P based on some of the tech recovery. We saw a lot of performance yesterday, pretty much sector-wide, but there was an unwind of some of our more defensive sectors. You don't want to be thinking things like utilities, which have started to pull back from a more recent swing high. And these are, of course, sectors of the market that were outperforming for a period, especially in times of more uncertainty and a bit more overall risk. We're also seeing that pullback inside of the consumer staples, albeit this is one of our trending sector ETFs and one of the markets to remain focused on for either pullback buys or just positioning for additional upside. Obviously, this breakout in consumer staples is after a multi-month consolidative trading range, so it does have the potential for much higher in the sort of assumption of the breakout having additional energy to the upside. But market does appear to be looking back into some of our more notable tech plays, obviously with the XLK having that sharp recovery similar to the Nasdaq. We saw that in consumer discretionaries as well. These were the Monday sort of extreme low, the spike low, the recovery and continuation on Tuesday's session. And the overall posturing of other strong sectors such as financials and energy, both of which have not pulled back amidst some of the return of strength inside of our more growth-oriented sectors. So S&P overall remains very healthy, with a lot of our dominant sectors either strong or recovering, even the likes of healthcare with our engulfing setup after that larger drawdown period. Pull back by, in this case, to the 50 with a reversal signal on the daily. So markets are starting to position themselves for another economic data drop, which is today's CPI data. So this is going to occur shortly after the Engineering the Market session. If you are trading this pre-market, just be aware that this data set might cause a bit of short-term volatility and may also decide some of the directional bias on today's session. When we start to look at the overall strength of the recovery, we also want to keep in mind that we're still inside of our dominant trading range. Looking at the S&Ps and drawing out our volume profile, not delete, I want to load. Very notable recovery to VPOC inside of the S&P. This is that, of course, that dominant sector performance in inflationary sectors, along with the tech recovery. However, our Nasdaq, which had a strong recovery, is not quite back at our dominant VPOC. Notable that the Nasdaq's value zone is sitting much higher in its trading range. We're looking at essentially the top end of the trading range where the Nasdaq has transacted in the past. And what we have forming from a more pattern perspective is the potential for an inverse head and shoulder. Obviously, a breakout of this neckline would invalidate 2 to 3 sessions of selling. And the idea here is that the hourly uptrend, along with the shorter term time frame uptrends, have held. So the next phase may be that initial breakout to move us back into value. This, of course, would be sort of a bullish scenario for the Nasdaq, with the opposite being a breach of a more recent swing lows. And you want to be thinking potentially yesterday's low. That would invalidate this pattern setup and potentially lead us into threatening lower prices, with the understanding that this extreme is something to defend from a price perspective. The market did go through a fairly precipitous drop. We're talking about sort of a 2 standard deviation move when looking at ATR from high to low. And those levels often are defended, but the target for the trade is one that needs to be sort of assessed as we get the recovery to the top side. And last but not least, our IWM, which continues to remain near the lower bounds of its trading range. Similar overall Monday recovery, Tuesday follow through. But as we dig a little deeper into shorter term time frames, you can see that we're also reaching ahead for the dominant VPOC. And this is that overall trading range VPOC, along with our weekly value zone near 222 to 223. So if we see sort of a full market recovery, I would expect a lot of these conservative targets to be met. The SPY certainly has achieved that first target, getting back to value. IWM and Nasdaq are next in the hopper. Volatility has come down throughout yesterday and Monday session. We saw just the initial spike as we encountered larger selling on Monday's session. And as we can see, this sort of downtrend has formed in the regards of the VIX pricing. Overall, the posturing in the VIX is a bit more conservative than in previous fear spikes. We're not seeing necessarily a ton of hedging activity. You'll actually see some positioning on the put side with a larger put reading on yesterday's session. So a bit more VIX compression or just volatility suppression being priced in by the market. And one way to see that is some of the overall product depth. If I can get it to stay on the VIX. The product depth of the volatility futures. Once again, this market remains in a normal contango structure with future-looking volatility priced much higher than short-term volatility until we see this spread tighten up or just start to see a bit more short-term acceleration of volatility pricing. Market remains sort of in a stable or less fearful mode. And as with some of our discussions inside of the BBT chat room, lower volatility environments can facilitate some short-term range-bound trading, especially if you're looking for not necessarily income-generating strategies, but more so that the market is not necessarily trending, but we do have some nice risk-bound targets for low to high and high to low spreads. Basically looking at short-term plays to capture some of these extreme movements, along with playing the market whenever it is trapped at value. You want to be thinking sort of capturing volatility spreads and looking to not necessarily play the market directionally during those times. So shift out of this one, go back into our chart mode. Just to reiterate some of the recovery trade inside of the 10-year. Let me remove this. So bringing up our /ZN, we're looking at a very precipitous drop that occurred throughout the beginning of the first week of 2022. The bounce trade at this point continues to be very weak and overall postured for continued downside. But as with everything, we're looking at short-term opportunity. This alone caused some recovery inside of the Nasdaq, and that can be seen in a product like TLT as well, coming into our first pivot target, responding with the engulfing type structure, and then the follow-through trade. Some short-term ideas, if you were trading or using the TLT as a guide, is this recovery bounce has potential back to our range low, essentially to backtest the breakdown that we encountered. And that would coincide quite well with our downtrending retracement line if we start to see a sell signal in this particular price range. We're talking, roughly the 145 if this recovery bounce has that type of follow through. And in those time frames, if the growth sectors of the market continue to sort of drift higher, especially if the CPI data and some of the upcoming earnings aren't enough to destabilize this market once again, we should see sort of a bullish drift back into some of our upper bounds. You want to be thinking for the Nasdaq back into roughly the 400 print for the QQQ. So looking ahead into the rest of the week, we do have earnings starting on Friday. As always, we're going to be looking at some of our banking sector to kick off the earnings season. And as we know, the financials have been boosted as of late with rising interest rates. So we are looking to see what sort of expectations the market is pricing in for some of these stocks. We'll just take maybe the top three. We'll look at Citigroup, JP Morgan, and Wells Fargo. And one way to get a nice sense of what sort of expected move the market is offering is to look at the Friday series of these stocks in the option market. So for example, depending on where Citi closes on Thursday's session prior to its earnings, and based on its previous close, and obviously we're getting a bit of an uptick in the pre-market session, Citi at this moment is pricing in approximately a $2 expected move into its earnings. We could start to open up that series and see where some of that inventory, or just where the open interest is most concentrated, albeit that some of it is close to at the money. There is sort of a slight bullish skew in regards to where more of the open interest lies. And as we start to transact today's session and even Thursday's session, we could start to see if that open interest does change and affect the expected move for earnings. JP Morgan, same basic idea, much more volatile overall in regards to its price activity. But for earnings, just looking at about a $4.5 expected move. Once again, looking at where some of the transactions have occurred, and even watching things like statistics or the option time and sales. If you do have available data streams for this data, seeing where some of the larger transactions are occurring intraday, or people putting on some more bullish or bearish spreads or bets in regards to an earnings play, which would either be concentrated in the 14 Jan series and even the 21 Jan series, just to facilitate the lack of time in the Friday expiration. And then last but not least, we do have Wells Fargo, highest overall implied volatility. So while this is a $50 stock, we're still looking at a $2 expected move in comparison with a stock like C, which has a lower IV and yet is a higher price stock. Therefore, the $2 move is equivalent when you think about just relative performance or relative volatility. But same basic idea, looking at some of these strikes, looking at where the market is pricing some of that that expectation, and even seeing a bit of uptick in the trading volume on yesterday's session. This stock did have a slightly elevated overall session on the option market side. So as we get into earnings and as people are starting to develop some bias into particular stocks' performance, either into or after earnings, these expected moves are often going to be the initial guide. Where does the market see that volatility? How wide do they price that volatility in? And ultimately, the market can get it wrong quite often, which leads to larger movement and even gamma-related squeezes, either before or after earnings is announced. Obviously, these stocks are all either breaking out or seeing lots of continuation upside. We know that our financial sector, XLF, and even some of our regional banks, the KRE as an overall ETF to see that performance, have been moving much more quickly to the upside than some of our other markets. So a way to look at earnings and to play earnings as an idea for a possible trade idea. So a lot of people look at earnings, they see obviously the heightened volatility. They see that the market is giving bigger moves and they want to either speculate in one direction, sometimes speculating in both. And a lot of people will play volatility-based plays, the likes of iron condors or straddles, expecting the market to essentially get the price right or the expected movement right and to reduce the volatility that has been priced in following earnings. Another way to consider playing these types of strategies is in the form of a calendar type spread. And while the entire criteria of this scenario is up for probably further discussion, just wanted to showcase what that could look like in the event of an earnings play. So for example, let's go back to JP Morgan. Let's say earlier in the week, usually you want to put these on as the market is getting heightened volatility coming into earnings. You may want to use this expected move as sort of a risk area for some volatility type plays. One way you can do this is to consider selling some of the heightened volatility in the series that will encounter the earnings movement. Basically, the week of earnings, whatever series that falls within, that's often where premiums are much higher and where you often want to be a premium seller. So for example, in the likes of JP Morgan, a 167.49 close and about a $5 expected move means that you may want to be selling something like put premium and the opposite side call premium inside of this series, basically selling that strangle, expecting the market to get it right. However, this is of course an unbound risk position. You're collecting higher volatility premium, and yet your risk if you get it wrong in the case of a larger than average move is unbound. So often what you can do is cap this risk in regards to condors. This is sort of the initial earnings play that a lot of people learn, and the simple idea is to cap the risk by buying out of the money in this case and capping each of those naked calls and puts, basically the unbound side of each of those spreads. Now, obviously, you will not collect as much premium, but in the case that you are wrong, you will, of course, not incur a larger loss. Your losses are essentially bound by the width of each spread. And of course, each side of the iron condor does not have to be equidistant, but it is a sort of neutral strategy, expecting the market to get it right in regards to its expected move and stepping in with a way to collect some of that premium. One additional way to consider this is getting away from the higher IV environment. Essentially, you still want to collect some premium in regards to the higher IV series, the one with the more increased premium, but instead stepping out and looking at the next series as an example and starting to cap your risk in regards to buying some protection out in time. And what you can do for these types of strategies is either buy the same strikes, obviously with different series, or even cap it with a further out of the money strike, given that while this is not necessarily the same implied volatility, you do have more time, and therefore the expected move based on yesterday's close is still higher than it is for the Friday expiration. So an example of the same strike and buying back these contracts would look something like this. And what this is classified as is essentially a calendar type spread. It will be classified here as a double diagonal, but you'll note that the call and put strikes are equal. They're just using different series. And what you will find is that while you are still protecting yourself from that risk, you can use this strategy early before earnings, sell some of that premium, And then as earnings recover, this spread becomes profitable. We'll pull it up on a risk profile here near these strikes. And what you're looking at is sort of a risk profile. Go ahead and minimize that so I can access the calendar here. You're looking at a risk profile that starts to expand as you get closer to the earnings date. In this case, it is Friday, but it can also be closed prior to earnings. And it's a way to essentially collect premium as part of the spread, protect from the higher IV changes in a further spread, and even to close these spreads before earnings as profitable trades. And you will see that this essentially becomes fully matured in the Friday series. The understanding here is that the calls and puts would start to either expire or you would close out the trade. And then following the next week, if you had not closed this strategy, you would own a call and a put as basically two positions for a strangle outside of the expected move. So this is sort of a variation of an iron condor, something that does not necessarily need to be held into the earnings itself. But what you're wanting to do is put these on before earnings, usually a week to 2 weeks prior. You allow these spreads to expand as the market has sort of decided where it's going to transact before earnings. And as that expansion occurs, you can look to close these early to collect sort of that change in volatility, along with keeping one side of the spread open if you think that the earnings are going to be wider than expectations. So it's a sort of a twofold strategy here, and the dynamics of it are based around higher IV in the earnings series and lower IV out in time. So very sort of nuanced way to look at earnings this season. I would say a lot of people will start with the more condor or even straddle and strangle if you're familiar with those earnings type plays. Very classic volatility contraction type plays. But look at ways to actually capture the volatility before going into earnings and to remove the, I would say, the notional risk of what can happen during an earnings season. So just an idea for those to ponder. And obviously, if you have questions, feel free to reach out. So with that said, my name is Jared. This is Engineering the Markets. Trade safe. Be prepared for the upcoming CPI data. And as always, stay tuned for pre-market prep, where we'll go into more detail with our gappers list and our China stocks for today. So see y'all tomorrow and talk to y'all then.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the pre-market prep. 1 second. Let's get the volume actually in the room. I just noticed I'm not getting no volume there. There we go. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the pre-market prep. I hope everyone's having an amazing morning. Hopefully, you guys had a great day yesterday. Good morning, Norm. How are you today, my friend?
Hey, good morning, buddy. I'm doing all right. How are you?
Doing good, guys. Doing good. Um, All right, let's get to it. Let's look at some of the stuff we had on our list yesterday, guys. Starting with TLRY was the first one on my list. Let's go right to that. And actually, not so bad here in TLRY, guys. Oh, wait, I'm showing you guys the daily. Let's look at the 5 minute right here. Beautiful pop. Pre-market was a little suspect. It didn't seem like it was going to be all that great, but actually, after 15 minutes or so, it did turn out to be a nice, beautiful trade here. Nice, beautiful pop. You dig at some continuations happening here. You got a good pullback towards the VWAP and some of the moving averages it held here, and then another pop right back above the highs of the day. So again, turned out really, really good after about 30 minutes or so, right? 15 minutes or so is when you really got a nice play out of TRY. And then later half of the later half of the day was not great, as you can see here, very, very choppy for the most part. Nvidia had a little bit rougher start than I would have thought, but it did get a little bit better later after 11. Beautiful breakout here. You had some opportunities there, but again, you didn't get a great continuation. It would require an amazing entry on here, right, to be able to take advantage of this move. But you do get a nice base here happening where you're seeing some good support around 270. And then right after that, you get a nice breakout that actually turns into a beautiful continuation above the highs of the day at that time. So that was nice. And then similar to TRY, half of the later half of the day, just not doing a whole lot, pretty much sideways there. Baba did not expect what Baba did yesterday, guys. Just look at the takeoff here, and this is why we don't put too much weight. Norman, you know this because you mentioned it quite a bit on the Baba's pre-market action. Because look at it yesterday, right? Had nothing going, but Norm, you called this one out. I actually was looking for a possible short on this, but it turned out to be an amazing trade towards the top side here. So pretty nice there on Baba the first hour or so, pretty good. And then like many stocks, later half of the day, just not doing a whole lot. Volume died down really quickly yesterday, and the markets got pretty stale in the later halves. Apple, beautiful double bottom, very similar to Nvidia, but a whole lot cleaner as far as a double bottom type play. Look at the breakout here. Nice continuation there. Roku didn't do a whole lot. Was not really in play until later after 11, 12. So not a whole lot going on there. And then American Airlines was just pure trash, guys. And again, they had the volume here. They had somewhat of a catalyst, but it turned out to be nothing at the market open here, as you can see. So that was our list yesterday. Let's take a look here, guys, of what we have this morning. Just a quick overview. Let's get this little thing out of the way here. There we go. And we got a couple of things in the green. The tickers already, I can tell we have a little bit of trash in here. So we'll see where that's going. And then we have some stuff here in the red, which also does not look great. So
No,
we'll
but
see.
we've got plenty. We've got plenty to pick from on the green side that I think will give us a good day.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest economic data of the week just dropped, and that was CPI and core CPI inflation data that came out. They were roughly in line with expected. A couple of them, there are four measures there, and both month over month and year over year. And out of those four, a couple were actually a little hotter than expected. That having been said, since they were roughly in line with expectations and not far worse, that people were a little bit worried about, the SPY popped a little bit on that news in the last few minutes. We'll see if it holds. Jay Powell was talking yesterday during his confirmation hearings. It had more of an effect than I thought it would yesterday, but um, he was kind of walking a very fine line, talking about inflation and how the Fed's going to act. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm sure he'll get confirmed. I don't know that there's really much of a question about that. And then China's inflation came out a little bit less than expected. So that's helping pop some of their tickers that you can see in here. BABA, PDD, Futu, all that stuff. So JD, XPEV. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how those are going to play out today. Definitely see all of those on the ticker list this morning. Um, All right, guys, let's get to it. Let's see what we have here. Let's remove our watch list from yesterday. Control A, Control X, gets rid of that. And let's look at the first one here, low flow IMMX. And I think this was active not so long ago. They're getting a nice pop this morning. I'm sorry?
Yep. Yeah,
right?
They were low float, was active now at 453,000 shares on TI. It's a little over 4 million on FinViz. I don't remember that this was in play last week. I don't recall it being that low in FinViz, or in TI. So I don't know what the deal is there.
Yeah, because we would have made fun of that somehow. And I don't recall the lowest we've seen. Yeah, the lowest we've seen is that 900,000. Which one is it? Pops up all the time.
I don't know.
I forget, but it's a low flow. It's like 900,000 pops up all the time there. This was not that low. I don't remember that neither. So interesting on how that is there. But guys, very active this morning. 8.3 million. They had a nice pop a couple of days back. They kind of went sideways a little bit here and now looking to maybe rip higher. So we'll put it on here. We'll see where that goes today. Next, another low flow here.
They had I believe it was a phase 1 study. Some positive news came out on a cancer treatment. So that is what IMMX is moving on this morning.
All right, excellent. Yes, that's it. ISIG. That is the one. ISIG, the one that is like 900,000 ISIG. Well, you guys got a good memory there. There we go. Yep, 922,000 there. Harry over on YouTube, thank you so much for the super chat, man. $5 bomb there. Do you think I'll say this right? FU to you is in play, or just wanted to hear you say it again? Good morning, BBT. Good morning, my friend. Good to see you in chat. Yes. All right, guys, let's take a look here. PIK, no, not a whole lot going on. It has 2.1 million, but the pre-market action doesn't look great for a low flow. It's just dropping down, right? You had an initial pop here, and then just kind of selling off. You're right back to that $6.56 mark. So unless things pop up, I don't see it being very interesting right now. PL doesn't look great. We'll skip on this. Let's try to get to the good stuff here. DNA, nope, no life there at all. Futu this morning. So Harry, to answer your question, Futu is on the list, and I don't know. The daily looks like you're getting somewhat of a breakout here. So we'll have to see. You know, in a perfect world, this will be in play. We'll see. I mean, it's getting some volume right now. Let's put it on here as a possible. We'll definitely come back to that. PDD this morning also popping up as well. Daily's breaking out nicely here. I'm not a huge fan of PDD. I'll throw it on here. Let's see what that means today. Mara, Riot, Hut. What else we have here? Bunch of Bitcoin stuff on our list this morning. We'll take a look at Mara, which is typically my favorite one to watch right here. We're up 4.2, 309. So I'm assuming Bitcoin is getting a little bit of a bounce this morning.
A little bit. It's 43 and change. So
yeah,
it held that 42,000 level. We'll see what it does here. The daily is looking interesting. If it can't hold here, it might have some issues with the 50 crossing the 200, which is not good technically.
Yeah, technicals don't look great on this. I know Mara's getting a pop here, guys, and the volume's starting to come in. I'm gonna put them as a possible. They have not been fun to trade over the last couple of days, so I'm not a big fan of Mara lately. Riot is another one that you can actually watch. We'll put both of those on here, but we'll see if it makes sense putting it on our main list. So nothing on our main list yet. Let's head on down. We have Dish. Dish, I believe, doesn't trade very well. We've seen this one in the past, so I'm going to skip on that one. We have VIPS, another one that doesn't trade very well neither, guys. I mean, this stuff has been active in the past, and their daily action is just, for me, not great. BBL starting to move here up 3.9, 216,000. Looks foreign on this daily.
It is.
Yeah, it is, right? And here, by the way, the candles are getting a little bit wider and better, but I'm not sure if this is going to be a great trade.
This is an Australian miner. Not a great trading ticker. at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, we'll skip on that. Baba, we're definitely watching Baba, guys. Did very well yesterday. They're up 3.6 right now, 1 million shares traded. And also other companies, as we mentioned before here as well. We have JD on the list also, and that looked like it traded very well yesterday as well. There it is. Had a nice little breakout yesterday. But Baba is definitely on my list. JD, JD is so hard to read. If we can trade like this again, what was the volume yesterday? 27 million. It's not huge, but not bad, right? It's not horrible. Let's put that on there, JD. See what we get out of that one today. Neo. Let's look at Neo this morning. Had a decent day yesterday. This morning they are up 3.5. A decent volume, 572. We'll remove some of these levels. We can watch Neo today, see if we can get back to those explosive trading days we had with Neo in the past. We haven't seen that in a while from them. TCOM here, no good, no action. FCX, no. And this one, I don't like the price action on it. We had it on our list before, and it hasn't done well intraday trading. XBEV is another one that you can watch, guys. I'm going to keep Neo. Seems a little bit more active this morning. Rio is we saw this yesterday. How did it actually trade yesterday? I did not keep this on my list. It's just the volume is concerning. I know they trended up higher all day here, but they did that with 5.7 million. So again, you could just imagine how slow moving this is. And what I don't like about that is that anybody can just change the direction so quickly because the volume is so light on this, right, for the entire day. So I'm not a fan of it something being that can get manipulated so easily like that. Ion Q is no good usually. X we had on our list, but we took it off, and it didn't do anything great compared to the other stuff we were watching yesterday. This morning, I'm still not seeing anything huge on it, so we'll skip on that one. And that's our gap up list this morning. So a couple of things that look all right in there. PHG, PHG has a huge drop, 15%, 527,000, but man, this thing doesn't really trade well at times. So and usually, guys, we've seen these type of plays so many times, right? Companies are not doing nothing. They get this drop, they'll make noise here, and at the market open, they just do nothing, right? Just kind of go sideways into a lot of chops. So I'm not a big fan of that. HYZN this morning, no, not a good one. BIIB, we've seen this plenty of times, trades horribly. Becky hasn't done anything great neither, so I don't like Becky neither at the moment. So all right, that's our list so far. Norm, anything you like on your end today?
I'm still looking. I like a couple of these Chinese tickers. I like Baba, I like Neo that you've got already. So see if anybody else throws out anything interesting.
Yeah, Baba, Neo, and even JD this morning looks decent. Well, their daily looks decent this morning. So we'll see how these Chinese tickers are going to do today. And we have Mara and Rai, which are they're looking okay right now. I just don't trust they're going to trade well because they've been so bad the last couple of weeks, really. So I don't have no faith they'll be good. Propeller 67, we'll start with you. You're giving us SoFi actually. So we'll start there. SoFi this morning, taking off here. We got some good volume on it, 410. It's a nice little pop right now the last couple of minutes, so that is decent. This thing has sold off pretty nice the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so. So finding a little bit of a base. Saw a pop yesterday. Could be interesting today. We'll put that on there. We'll come back to that. AMD. Oh, lost my spot. Enrico, you're giving us Facebook. I'm not sure on Facebook. I mean, you had a pop yesterday. I'm not sure on it. Possible. We'll come back to that. AMD. Gus is giving us AMD this morning. AMD right now. Yeah, I mean, AMD, NVIDIA, I'm still going to be watching some of those there. You know, they're trying to find some base here. Apple also very similar stuff there. I'm probably going to continue to watch Apple on my main list, and that's kind of like, my flagship ticker for all tech stuff, right? So you can add NVIDIA on there. You can add AMD, which pretty much are all doing the exact same thing. Apple, yeah, a little bit better there. A lot more volume on Apple, right? Daily chart looks a little bit cleaner. So I like that one this morning. Let's look at MU because I know a lot of you guys like this one. MU tends not to put in no type of pre-market activity, really. Yesterday, not as great as some other ones. You did get a breakout here at 11 like many of the stocks did. But MU not looking all that exciting right now. OCGN, let's take a look at that. OCGN activity happening here, definitely up 2.3 million, up 11%. Yeah, we can look at it. I mean, it's just this pre-market. It's not good. It looks very choppy. Um, we'll come back to that. Let's see how that looks in a couple of minutes. Lucid, definitely. You're saying, Lucid. Great volume here. Good day yesterday. Lucid, yes, I had a breakout late in the day, right? Was it late in the day? I don't know, but it kept hitting our turbo breakup scanners. It was just crushing it the entire day. So yeah, not too late in the day. So yeah, here every time you kept hitting the all-time highs, I believe here you hit the turbo breakup. It has some volume. So yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what it does today. The daily looks good, man. The daily has been breaking out nicely here, trying to get going above that 46 today. Hopefully, we could look at Lucid. We'll see. Lucid is good. All right, heading down, Lucid, we have Tesla is also another good one we can look at. I'm sure I have Neo on my list. Heading down, we have Oxy. Oxy, what's going on with Oxy? Could continue to be in play today. It could. Don't put too much weight on the pre-market action on Oxy because they tend not to have the best pre-market action. Put in a decent day yesterday, as you can see here. Yeah, Oxy can be interesting. We'll throw Oxy on there. List is better than yesterday so far. We still have a lot on here, but list is definitely better than yesterday. INTC, INTC. What's going on with these guys? How they end up day yesterday? They did okay. Again, possible continuation, guys. I'm not seeing it in the pre-market right now. I know this company doesn't get heavy volume in the pre-market, so that could change. But I won't keep an eye on that one. Lusa, we have Oxy, we have. Let's take a look here. CCL, BA, and Futu. Let's take a look at CCL and BA for you. Let's see here. CCL. No, I don't think these travel companies are really in play right now, man, to be honest. American Airlines did nothing. This thing has just been chopping around sideways for the most part there. If it can break out of here, and today could be the day, right? If it can break out of here, then maybe that could be nice. Get some momentum going there. The volume, though, is not really there for CCL right now. American Airlines also not in place. It's kind of moving sideways here. Unless we can get a breakout out of this channel, this range here, maybe we can get something going. But for the most part, I just don't see it. Yeah, we did talk about American Airlines. It was bad. I mean, I didn't find it great. It was really bad. I mean, look at this. This is yesterday's action on American Airlines. I mean, just every candle overlapping the previous candle. This is just horrible, horrible. All right, let's stop here. Let's take over a look at YouTube. Ruben, we'll start with you. You're giving us a Rivian this morning, RIVN. And then this, what's going on here? Let's move over. No, it's pretty quiet, man. It's pretty dead as far as the pre-market action. Yesterday you had a nice little breakout here, but pretty dead right now. I'm the worst person to ask about this stock because I just don't like the way it trades. So I know people are hyped about this one and it can move and you can get a $5 move on this stock very easily, right? So if you find yourself in the right side of the trade, it can be a really good day for you. But for the most part, man, I don't like the way this thing dances around when it comes to the price action. So I'm not going to add it to my list. You can have it on yours. Don't put too much weight on the pre-market because we've seen the pre-market not do a whole lot. Like yesterday, we look at yesterday's pre-market action here, doesn't do much, and then you still have this breakout here. I just don't like the way this thing, even looking at it now, you can tell it seems to trade just a little bit too thin for a move that goes from 78 to 85. So a pullback on this can be very aggressive. I'm not a fan of that. So look out for the spread if you're going to be trading that. Heading back up here. All right, we looked at CCL. We looked at Hood. Is Hood down to like $5 now? Where is Hood sitting at? Where are we? Okay, we bounced. We actually have 15, 16. Okay. Yeah, not really in play. So unless something happens with this, it's not really something that's really in play. Infi and INFY. No volume there. Pretty dead right now. OCGN we looked at, guys. This pre-market action is just all over the place. We'll have it on our list. We'll look at it again because it does have potential to trade very well. But right now it's not looking good. There's nothing to listen to on this stock there. It doesn't look good at all. Oxy, we have TNDM. TNDM, no. This is a block trade, guys. Not even not even a block trade. This is somebody that had a hockey error this morning, and for some reason bought 139 units. But they made a mistake. They made a mistake, Peter. They did not mean to buy that stock. LAC, we saw in our list yesterday. Pre-market action is not great. It's just so light on the volume. Did trend well on the daily, on the intraday here. But yeah, so light on the volume, guys, on this one. All right, two more and then we'll get going. Ford, definitely gonna look at Ford. Let's see here. Ford this morning. Ford is holding, man. It maybe another breakout. Did well yesterday, right after 11 or so. There, did very nice. Ford might be worth watching, man. This thing might do something. Maybe not today, but if it can, maybe it gets at 25, 25.50. They got a lot of hype going on right now. Nice, beautiful pop gap up that we had and we held. So I like when stocks hold here. They consolidate, and if they come back up towards these highs, they can potentially continue to break out here. We'll have to watch and see if the market open. Volume though today, notice the last few pre-market actions, the volume that we had. You're not seeing nowhere near that. I mean, we were sitting at like 5 million around this time on Ford. We only have 846, which for them, it is extremely light volume for them. Very, very light. So, but still, the daily does look very decent here this morning. All right, guys. I think we're pretty much set. Let's stop here. Let's go over to our community events and announcements. We'll come back and we'll fine tune this list here. Hey, Norm, I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
All good.
All right. Ed's webinar and option flow should be posted soon. If it's not already, next week, 8 p.m. Tuesday, you've got Thor talking about tape reading. And then tonight at 5 p.m., we'll have Kreda talking about how to think and trade like a professional athlete to gain a mental edge in the markets. And speaking of Kreda, we'll be talking to her in a few minutes as well. Then next Wednesday, 8 p.m., the normal time, we'll have Mike talking about building confidence in trading with a solid pre-market routine. All right. If you have not checked it out, go to stocktradingsimulator.com, where you can use our free web-based replay simulator. No downloads required, no cost, no sign up, no anything. You can go there and trade, practice trading, and while you're there, you can sign up at the bottom for email homework assignments from Eamon and Simon. We don't sell that list. We don't do anything with it. It just, we don't spam you. You get homework assignments from them to practice trades. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't been in the chat, you can use the promo code PREMARKET24 to get a discount off the intro membership. Just go to bearbulltraders.com, scroll down about halfway down the page. You'll see that Test Drive Now button. Click it, fill out the form, use the promo code to get the discount. It will bill you one time. It does not recur, and it gives you 7 calendar days in the room, 5 trading days to see what Bear Bull Traders is all about. Good morning, Kreda. How are you today?
Morning, Norm. Happy Wednesday. I'm good.
Yeah, happy Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. Today, you're going to be talking about building a system for building your mental edge. So without further ado, I'll just let you take it away.
Thanks. So this will link actually to the webinar that I'm delivering tonight for BBT. So some people may have seen it already. We're kind of recapping this. So if you haven't seen it and you're new, definitely drop into that. And I'll be expanding on what I'm talking about just here today. So I just wanted to take stock, excuse the pun, but we cover a lot of topics in this segment and we speak about a lot of different aspects of your mental edge, building confidence, motivation, all of those kind of things. But it's good to actually zoom out and look at this in terms of a framework or a system for actually building your mental edge. And that's kind of what's missing out there is, there's a lot of information, even on the internet. You can read about affirmations, using mental imagery, all of these really great techniques that can help you to build a mindset that's going to help you achieve peak performance in your trading. But how do you actually personalize that information and structure it in a way that is meaningful and that doesn't become overwhelming? So that can be something that happens as soon as you go down the rabbit hole of actually working on the mental and emotional aspects of your trading, you'll see that there's so many different things that you could implement. And sometimes people make the mistake of trying to do everything at once. So they feel like, they're not actually building their mental edge unless they're doing a bit of everything. And that's not really the case, or it's not the most effective way to approach it, because you'll find that you actually spend more time working on the psychology side of things than the trading, and it'll feel like it's too much, and then you'll just fall off the wagon with it. So having a system for actually approaching this is really helpful. So I'm just going to talk you through a few tips to actually help you get set up with a paradigm in your minds that you can apply to cultivating your own mental edge. So the first thing you want to do is actually figure out where you're at. So before you even start setting goals around, what profits you want to make from trading in a year, getting clear about any of that, you want to actually just take stock about from where you're currently at in your trading and all of the different aspects of it. So the devil is in the detail. You want to actually forensically look at every aspect of your performance and get it down on paper and, make it very clear. So that's the performance profile technique that I'll be covering in a bit of detail tonight. So that's where you start off with. You assess where you're at, and then you go into actually setting your goals. So you really want to define your long-term goals, your medium-term goals, and your short-term goals. And then once you've done that, you know where the gap is between where you're at now and where you want to get to. And that's where you can actually start digging into this. So you're working like a kind of a funnel. So you start broad, and then you're getting more and more focused with your mental edge and cultivating it as you go on. So once you've figured out where you want to get to, then you have to figure out what are the pieces of your performance that you can focus on. So the aspects of your performance that will give you the biggest win if you focus on them and if you improve them by a couple of percent. And then you're starting to actually narrow down so you can start creating a plan. And it's only at that point, once you've identified the key things to improve in your trading that will make the biggest difference and will help you make the biggest jump towards meeting your long-term goals, then you can actually start looking at, well, what techniques will I use in order to achieve that? So that's a kind of step-by-step process. But there are some techniques that are the cornerstones of the mental edge. So things like goal setting, you definitely want that to be in your routine. Maybe relaxation, meditation, those things are very helpful. So there are some things that are like best practice. But if you're following this system, then once you've identified what you want to focus on. So let's say, for example, you're somebody that it gets very jumpy into different trades and kind of wants to be involved and is impatient, and you're taking setups that don't fit your A+ setup criteria. So that's my favorite example because it's so concrete. So let's say you've decided to work on that. At that point, then you're going to figure out, right, I'm going to set goals around that. So process and performance goals to improve that. And then you're going to work out what's stopping me from actually changing this. So if I am jumping into all of these different setups, why am I doing that? And you can start getting into the deeper aspects then of, your subconscious limiting beliefs and all of that. And when you get a better understanding of why that's happening, then you can start matching techniques like affirmations or mental imagery or relaxation or whatever the technique that's going to solve that problem is. At that point, then you choose the technique to fit the goal that you're trying to achieve. And then once you've matched those up, you can start building that into a routine. So you start broad, you're figuring out, okay, where's my whole performance at? Then you're moving into where do I want to get to? Then you're moving into, right, what are the main things to focus on to get there? What's stopping me from improving my performance in this area? And now what techniques can I actually match up with this issue so that I can resolve it? And then the next step, it's quite a long process, I guess. The next step is the devil is really in the detail then. You want to actually make sure that you're only focusing on these key things. So you're not trying to improve too many things at the same time, but that you're absolutely disciplined and consistent with applying these techniques. So things like affirmations or meditation or whatever you've selected to address that issue, that you're really consistent in implementing it, and that you're also really disciplined and consistent about tracking it. So you're going to track your actual implementation of these techniques. So if you've chosen affirmations, you're going to track every single day that you're using them, take it off. I did that today. And you're also then going to track your stats to see how things are shifting in terms of your results as you use these techniques. So that's why you'd set a performance goal around tracking how many of the trades that you take actually fit your A+ setup criteria. And over time, as you implement these techniques on the mental and emotional side of things, you should see your results in that specific area getting better. And obviously, if you're doing that over time, that's going to impact your P&L. So it is a kind of a systematic process. And the key thing that I want to get across to people is that when you're working on your mental and emotional aspects of your trading, it's quality over quantity. You want to be focused and you want to be very consistent about this system that you're using to improve things. So that's just a little taster of what we're talking about later tonight, but it's also a good reminder to anyone who's been, diligently doing all of these techniques, but who actually needs to maybe step back and just simplify things so that it doesn't become overwhelming.
Awesome, Kreda. Thank you for the appetizer. Look forward to the main course later today, 5 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget to follow Kreda at Kreda_perform on Twitter. And it's Kreda Performance on YouTube, correct?
Yeah, that's it on YouTube, yeah.
Awesome. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you later tonight.
Thanks, Norm. See you then.
All right. Thank you, Kreda and Norm, for that. Appreciate that very much. Over on YouTube,
It's
guys.
not me, man. It's all her.
That is true. Guys, hit that thumbs up for Kreda over on YouTube. Appreciate it very, very, very much. All right, guys, let's get to it. Let's look at our list here. Quickly go over this. I am MX, by the way, low flow today. Do I have this on here? This thing looking very active. Just be careful, guys. I was looking at the daily on this one, and look what it has done the last couple of times it popped up, right? Every time it gapped up here, it has sold off already. Went from 540 all the way to 8. So I don't know if this thing really wants to stay up here. It loves to sell off once it gets a really good move, especially if you notice here, anytime it leaves $5, right, over to 8 to 9 to 7, it decides to come back to that really quickly. So not saying that's going to happen today, but if you're looking to play on this one, be very, very careful. We do not have shares for short on this, and it's on short selling restriction as well if you do have shares for short. So just careful on that one. All right, let's look at BABA this morning, guys. Looking very good. Pre-market action actually looking nice, because usually BABA pops up and goes sideways. Here, you're getting a little bit of a northeast type action, so that's looking good there. Definitely on top of the list this morning, and you have 1.1 billion shares on that thing, so that's a lot. That's a lot of volume there. Here is NEO, guys. NEO. Why is my bottom chart not changing? There we go. Here's NEO. NEO's daily looks very good, guys, for a possible continuation. Also deciding to break out here in the last couple of minutes. So that is looking good. And the volume is there on NEO, so we'll keep that on there. SoFi, I'm not a huge fan of this one, but the pre-market action looks good. The volume looks good. Possible continuation today. We'll see. Apple is good. Lucid. Lucid is good as well. All right, things are starting to look very nice this morning. Oxy is more of a possible, guys. I'm going to bring this down. Let's bring this down here to on our possible list. Let's see there, and then don't put too much weight on their pre-market. We know that even though they have a quiet pre-market, they can do very well. Lucid on the list is good. Ford is good, guys. Ford is moving very well. I'm surprised how well Ford is moving the last couple of weeks. So, all right, let's do some levels. Starting here with BABA, which continue. Hopefully, it doesn't get too extended now. Now it's just showing off here. BABA is trying to show off on us here. Hopefully, it can slow down a bit. Low of the pre-market right over here, guys. 135.29. 130. Yeah, 135.25 to be exactly. There 137.27 high of the pre-market at the moment. On the daily, we have a couple of levels here. This one, of course, well, not there, but here around 148.40. What else do we have here? And maybe this one here, 140.37. So a couple of daily levels on there. Towards the bottom, guys, you got plenty of stuff here. Don't get this too congested there. You got the highs and lows, previous day close. It's all set up for you already. You also have a couple of moving averages below some of these levels as well. So great volume on BABA. Here's NEO, guys. Again, similar to BABA towards the bottom, because a lot of these stuff's been selling down and trying to come back up. Towards the bottom, you are set. Plenty of stuff happening down there. If you want to get fancy and mark the low of the pre-market, you can, 30.24. But you do have the highs from yesterday on there as well. The previous days, not 2 days ago, but the previous days, you could see also this 35.50 being an area of great resistance for this stock. So maybe that can become support today. High of the pre-market right now is sitting at 31.25. We'll see what it does there. On the daily, it's a little bit of touches on this 31.25. So maybe that does mean something big for them today. We'll see. Towards the top, 31.89 is good. And all the way up here, guys, you do have this great level here, 33. Good level. A support in the past, good resistance a couple of weeks back, and now we have it here for a possible profit target if that is what NEO is going to give us today. SoFi this morning, a good breakout towards the bottom. Again, very similar to BABA, to NEO, towards the bottom. Plenty of stuff already. High of the pre-market here, we're looking at 1445, slam a level there. Here on the daily, this is a good level. You got a lot of touches on here on this 1534. In here, this is another decent one, right? Of 1491. You got the ping pong action happening here between 1534 and 1491. You can see that back and forth many days using that as support resistance. And I think you're set there on SoFi. So pretty good stuff. Apple, great volume already, guys. Almost 1 million shares traded. You have here high of your pre-market 176.88, getting a little bit of a rejection happening there. The better level, though, is this 177.34, right? You can see here you have tons of touches there. Look at this beautiful daily, guys. Apple's daily, I know it hasn't been trading great in a couple of days in here, but their daily is actually really nice. Just look at the way this is forming. The pop here comes back down, back up. You get a little consolidation there, cannot break newer highs, and then you come back down again. So that's looking pretty nice there. Let's see here. Let's go back to the chart. All right, so here we go. So 176.88, good there. Towards the top, you have your 181.76, which really is your all-time highs. Is really what your main resistance is going to be. 182.92. Again, that's a big move. I don't think we'll get there, but it's good to have that target just in case. We have done big days like that in the past on Apple. Look at it with this one here, and here. So that has not been something strange to this stock. And I see a lot of stuff today doing pretty well. So hopefully, it's a lot of green in the screen today. Hopefully that can help Apple get going here. Here's Lucid, 851,000. A couple of interesting days here. On all these days, some of them seem to have gapped down and managed them to end green here, especially with a big green day yesterday. Low of the pre-market this morning, 44.47. So level there above. We're trying to get green here, coming up against the previous day close, see if we can get above that. And then once we do that, we do have a couple of levels up there. 47, see a lot of touches there. 47.29. This daily gets a little funky up here, but you can find something maybe right over here. I wouldn't put too much weight on that. 49.69, maybe 50. Maybe 50 is where you want to have that level. All right, let's do that again. Stretch to get up there, guys. It's a $5 move. But the last the last 3 days, we had a move from 37 to 42, a smaller one here. And then yesterday, we went from 41 to 45. So you are getting $4 moves on these things, right? Let's see if today is going to be another one of those days. Ford, guys, again, just trading well. Beautiful pre-market action. Here's the volume now. 1.4 million out of nowhere, right? So we were sitting, at like 500,000. We just doubled that in a couple of minutes. So 2404, good area. That has been a previous day close in the past. Level some support and resistance there. I'm not going to mark the high of the pre-market because we're crushing through that right now, as you can see. But 25.50, or actually no, 25 seems to be the most recent high. I think this is like the highs from the last 10 years, right? We looked at that, the highs from the last 10 years, not your all-time highs, but the last 10 years, this is definitely the high right now. So 25 there, we'll see if that can get going. I'll mark the high of the pre-market a little bit later, depending how things go here. All right, that is our possibles list. Not bad. It looked a little quiet, but it's starting to come alive a little bit. You can see the volume crushing in here, guys. 1.1, 890, 593. Apple at 1 million. Nice. Lucid, 869. And 4 starting to really crush it here as it's making a new pre-market highs. Our possibles list, Oxy, OCGN has tons of volumes, but look at the difference with this 3.5 million on OCGN. Look how nasty this thing is trading. And then look at Apple with just 1 million. Look how beautiful that thing is. Look at Bob with just 1.1. That is nice. Nice, beautiful activity in the pre-market that hopefully can translate into good trading in the intraday action, right? So we'll see. OCGN, it just seems very sloppy for me here this morning. All right. I think we are all set, guys. Let's take a look at our moderators lineup, see what we have going on there. All right, there we go. We got quite a bit of stuff. Let's resize this, fine tune this a little bit for you guys so you guys can get a nice view. As I'm doing this, guys, make sure you hit that thumbs up over on YouTube. We appreciate it very, very much. It does help out the channel a whole lot. So thank you for your support every morning. It is truly appreciated. Guys, here we have Thor watch list. He's looking at the SPY, INTC, CCL, JD, and Baba. Dima is looking at Baba, JD, SoFi, and Apple. Mike is looking at Baba and BA. He loves the daily on those two. Actually, no, we forgot to look at BA. We'll look at that in a second. Tiffany, Baba, and Apple. Peter, a couple IPOs, a couple of SPACs coming out today. Take a look at those there. And then Peter's list, AMD, Apple, Lucid, secondary list, Baba, OCGN, BA, and also AIMMX, low flow of the day, guys. Be very, very careful with that one. We have it here, 10 million up 25%, but it seems to be taking a little bit of a dive at the moment. BA, I know someone mentioned this in the chat and we were going to look at it, but I think we diverted to some other stuff. Yeah, BA does look good. Daily does look very, very good, Mike, on this. So yeah, BA is nice. We'll put it as a paso for now because BA, it can put in this is actually not a quiet pre-market for them. 96,000 is actually pretty good for them. And they still can put in a very, very good day. All right, 912. Let's fine tune our secondary list a little bit here. We have BA is good, Oxy is decent, OCGN. I just want to see what happens with this thing at the open. JD is good. I do have Baba, so I'm just going to remove JD. I'll think of it when I'm looking at Baba. Futu here, guys. You had one initial pop. I don't trust it. I'm going to get rid of it. I think we have better stuff on our list. PDD. I'm just gonna remove. I don't like trading this one. Mara, it's been so bad to trade, guys. We had a lot of fun with this, but it's been so bad. Yesterday seemed to have somewhat of a decent day here. Let's see if today we can break into some good trading on Baba if Bitcoin is going to have some kind of pop here. If there's no news on this one on Riot and Mara, they're just not doing anything big, guys. Lately, I'm gonna get rid of Riot. We'll keep Mara on here. Here's Facebook. Pretty quiet for the most part, but again, their pre-market action doesn't tend to be great. They're not in play. I don't think there's a catalyst out there, right? Anything happen? Any leaks or anything? If there's no catalyst, I mean, Facebook, it can be tough to trade. And if the market's going to move Facebook or anything else, then you start looking at other stocks that are going to move better, like the Apples, the Nvidias, that's been doing very well actually. Nvidia has been trading very, very clean. You got volume at Nvidia, guys, 613. I'm going to add NVIDIA to this list. I'd rather watch that than Facebook. Yeah, let's get rid of Facebook. There we go. Yeah, NVIDIA is nice, guys. 614, up 1.4 here. Again, tech has been getting a bit of a hit the last couple of weeks, really. Not really weeks, days. So we're getting a bounce on the Qs here. Let's see if that's going to push these stocks a little bit higher this morning. Right, we're all set, guys. 9:15, 202 likes. Thank you over on YouTube. Appreciate that very much. If we get a 250, I really appreciate it. But thank you for the support there. Guys, we're all set. Norm, anything we might have missed?
Nothing I can think of, man.
All right, excellent. There it is. We're just waiting for you, Brian, the man here. You're looking at AA, Ford, AMD, KW, KWeb, and also IMMX, which is the low flow of the day. Very active, but again, guys, I think it's selling off now, so just be very careful. That daily doesn't look too attractive on IMMX because again, every time it pops up, it seems to sell off here, and it's doing that very early right now in the pre-market. So guys, over on YouTube, thank you so much. Appreciate it. You hanging out with us this morning. We will go back into the chat now. Remember, tonight we have our webinar with Creta. Don't miss if you're not a member of the community. Check us out. There is monthly plans too, guys. You do have a monthly plan that you can check things out and see what it's all about. The monthly plan will give you access to every single webinar that we do live. We're doing 5 webinars a week. Come on down, check it out, hang out with the chat room and see what it's all about. So take care, guys. Trade safe, and we will see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. in the morning. Have a good one.
Take care, guys. Trade safe.